Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and Patch 11.17 is actually releasing in a handful of days, launching next week for the next Tuesday or Wednesday reset, depending on your region. This update brings with it a bunch of catch-up elements in order to help you get characters ready before Season 3 content, but also some more additional content while Season 2 is still ongoing. Another thing this patch is great for is all of you collectioners out there, especially when it comes to mount enthusiasts, as it adds a number of new mounts that you'll be able to collect within patch 11.17, with all of these mounts being something that you could actually earn or work towards over time. Not something tied to RNG, but something that you could obtain guaranteed. So if you're looking to add a number of mounts to your collections once patch 11.17 launches, I wanted to go over every single mount that's arriving with this update, how you'd be able to obtain them, as well as some of the future mounts that we'll likely see, as the whole list of mounts roster still has not been revealed for the patch 11.17, as Blizz does seem to have a very interesting Legion-sized surprise for us at some point in the future. As always, if you guys want to get regular updates regarding patch 11.17 or future guides for the update, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. With the patch 11.17 finally rolling out in a handful of days, you'll be able to get your hands on a handful of mounts, some which you'll be able to access super early. The one that will take a little bit of time is the new Pirate Dragon mount from the Turbulent Timeways event. Turbulent Timeways is a massive time-walking event that'll be going on for a handful of back-to-back weeks, allowing players to get a bunch of rewards from time-walking dungeons, not only giving you a chance to increase the experience rate of all of your old characters through time walking. And during Turbulent Timeways, not only can you get bonus XP and gear for any of your characters, but you'll also be able to work towards a mount through a long-term achievement. The mount this time around is a Chrono Corsair. For any of you that played back in Shadowlands, you'll be very familiar with this boss from the Tazavesh dungeon, a mount that players called for to become a mount at some point in the future, and are now getting the wishes granted. One of the best looking time walking mounts in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, the bee is pretty cool, Sadie Shelling is cool, but a Chrono Dragon, a pirate one of that, is much better as a reward, honestly. Now to get this mount, you'll need to get the achievement Mastering the Turbulent Timeways 3, since this is a third iteration of the Turbulent Timeways that comes with a unique reward. To unlock this achievement, you'll have to gain the mastery buff from the Timeways 5 weeks in a, not necessarily in a row, but at least 5 times during the Turbulent Timeways event. To get that, you just need to run a bunch of time walking dungeons, I think like 4 or 5 of them, as they build up in stacks, and eventually once they reach 4 or 5 stacks, I can't remember which one, but it'll grant you the buff of Mastery of the Timeways, which every single one of the stacks boosts your experience rate for your alts by a little bit, but getting the mastery buff gets you the maximum benefits. And once you achieve that mastery buff 5 times during the Turbulent Timeways event, then you'll be able to unlock the achievement and get the Chrono Corsair mount. Now, an easy way that players recommend others to do this in order to just work on this achievement is to get a alt character through a couple of time walking dungeons during the first week until they obtain their mastery of the Timeways buff for the week 1. And then just log on that character and queue for yet another time walking dungeon in order to refresh the mastery of the Timeways buff with just a single dungeon run, which will count towards getting yourself yet another tally towards the 5 times that you need to obtain the mastery of the Timeways buff. This isn't an achievement that you'll be able to unlock, like, you know, with 5 different characters, get the buff all in a single week. This is something that you'll need to keep coming back to every single week to refresh that mastery of the Timeways buff on that character. But once you do that, then you'll be able to add yet another gorgeous looking mount to your collections. Speaking of time walking, 2 more mounts are being added towards a new time walking expansion. This time around is Battle for Azeroth, with the BFA dungeons joining the roster of time walking, which you will be able to experience during the Turbulent Timeways. With this though, there's also going to be a new BFA time walking vendor, as every expansion that gets a time walking also gets its own vendor with its own rewards from collectibles, gear, but also 2 new mounts this time around. The mounts are going to be a Moonlit Saber as well as the Ivory Savage Mane, which can be purchased by Horde and Alliance characters from different vendors. Both of these mounts are going to set you back 5,000 Time War badges each, so you're looking at least 10,000 badges you got to spend to obtain both of these mounts. However, they're also revamping time walking dungeons a little bit with 11.17, making them a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging, though most of you won't really notice the difference. With that, though, does come an opportunity for players to earn more badges for every single one of your time walking dungeons, so at the very least, with dungeons being slightly more difficult, even though it won't really be noticeable for many of you, you will be getting more time war badges for every single dungeon run, so hopefully it should give you just enough for you to be able to purchase both of these mounts to add them to your collections. Each one of these mounts also is unique, as both the Ivory Savage Mane and the Moonlit Saber also have their own summoning animations, something that they don't really do for a lot of mounts, but this does make these two especially unique. Personally, a huge fan of the Moonlit Night Saber summoning animation, the whole Illusion thing that it got going on. It looks absolutely gorgeous, so definitely two mounts that you don't want to miss out on. Also, this patch brings even more content for Delve enjoyers, as we are getting a new form of Delves called Overcharged Delves, which are essentially Delves with an extra affix, new forms of challenges, stronger enemies, more traps, but even better rewards for you to obtain from the Delve experience. Those rewards include gear, which actually are going to be something that you'll be equipping in order to make your characters even stronger, but also collectibles, one of them being one of the best ones out there, the OC91 Chariot, a unique Delve overcharged mount that is kind of essentially the Keystone Master from Season 1, but a little bit more colorful, has these Titan discs in the shoulders, and as you can see, is literally overcharged, just pulsating with power. This is going to be a unique achievement that you'll be able to unlock during the entirety of the Overcharged Delves, and there's a very simple way of how you'll be able to unlock it. Within Overcharged Delves, you'll find that there's now going to be, through certain Delves, an Overcharged Titan console. And you can actually use that console in order to power it up with a variety of different bonuses. Those bonuses will help make those delves a little bit easier, because the enemies within the overcharged delves are going to be quite a decent bit of challenge, but the console will be used in order to collect these Titan discs and then equip the console with those discs in order to grant you a variety of different buffs to make those runs quicker, like Titanic Pyroblast that can deal damage to enemies while stunning them, or even Titan Force Shield that can give you an absorb shield if you ever get super low on health. You got movement speed buffs, you have primary stat bonuses, you have a variety of different little buffs that you can unlock over time, and there's overall 10 different nodes for you to unlock from the Titan Overcharged console. Now, to get yourself one of those discs in order to purchase an upgrade, you first need to convert 100 Titan disc shards from within delves. Those shards can be found by slaying foes within the delves, anything from any of the enemy elites to looting the end of a delve run box, to the treasures that you just find within the delves itself, so you'll be able to collect a lot of these just by running delves naturally. And once you fill out the entire console, that is how you'll be able to unlock the mount. Once this whole thing is filled is when you'll be able to get your hands on that mount. And right now in PTR, there doesn't seem to be any time gaining for this content. Like, you can immediately dive into Overcharged Delves and just start filling out this console, farming up as many of these fragments, and then adding more Titan discs into the console. Maybe this will change by the time this content comes out, but it does seem like this is the type of stuff that you'll be able to start working on immediately, and should hopefully be able to get your hands on the mount, unless Blizzard makes some hidden changes as the patch goes live. Now, the next two mounts will be made available at some time later throughout the patch 11.17. One of them being the Greedy Emissary mount, a brand new mount that is being added as part of the Greedy Emissary event. During the 1st of July, we'll be getting a crossover event between Diablo and World of Warcraft, which for a while allows treasure goblins to start spawning all over the world, Orgrimmar, Stormwind, as well as right outside of Dornogal. And with these treasure goblins spawn, they have a chance to grant you a variety of different rewards, allowing you to obtain things like various transmog items from cloaks and back pieces, but also transmog class sets, as they got some brand new class sets on the horizon, one for every single class out there. Very similar to the 20th anniversary sets, they got a recolor of them that has more of this like red Diablo look. At least majority of classes are getting a red one, some of the classes are getting a slightly different look, but for mages you're getting this Phoenix version where the original has more of this arcane feel about it. But you can also get a number of other things such as pets, collectibles, and also new mount that will also be made available during this little event. The new mount that's added for this event is the Inarius's Charger, which is like Material's Charger, but it has a gunmetal look about it. At least that's what the color scheme apparently is supposed to be, a gunmetal, which sounds absolutely amazing. And I believe the model itself might be slightly more detailed than the original Tyrael Charger. But if you missed out on the tier 1 charger mount from back in the day, this is your opportunity to get a mount that's very similar to it, just with a slightly different recolor, yet another item for you to add to your collections. From what we know, this one likely drops from the Treasure Goblin event itself. And you also will be able to use a variety of different affixes that you can find while this event is active to buff up these goblins, but also buff up the rewards, summoning up to like 3 goblins with a bunch of different affixes that also are more likely to drop you goodies. So a mount is likely a secure... So a mount will likely be one of those items that you'll be able to easily secure pretty handily once the event goes live. Now, another mount that will be made available at a later time is the Shao Sage Serpent, a Mist of Pandaria themed mount that's aptly going to be rewarded through Mist of Pandaria classic content. Very similar to the Wrath of Lich King classic promo mount that allow players to level up a brand new Death Knight, go through the intro experience, and then be awarded a mount in retail. The same thing is being done for Mist of Pandaria Classic as well, where all you gotta do is make a new Pandaren character in Mist of Pandaria Classic once Pandaren become available. And Pandaren have their own unique intro experience, very similar to the Worgen and the Goblin from Cataclysm, and all you have to do is essentially complete the entire Pandaren starring experience all the way through until you get to the point of the storyline where you get to ally yourself with either Alliance or the Horde. And once you do the intro experience, which isn't all that long really, you'll be able to complete the requirement in order to obtain Shaha's Sage Serpent over on the retail side of the game. Classic is available for all players that just have an active WoW subscription. You don't need to purchase it or anything. So essentially, every one of you will just need to download Classic MOP, give it a go, level up on Dalaran, and that's yet another mount that you can just add to your collections. The next few mounts we have to take a look at will all, or at least majority of them, will come from trading posts, at least very likely. Based on early data mining, these do seem like trading post mounts. However, some of these mounts sometimes are marked as trading posts initially on PTR, but they get released as like some sort of a mount for an in-game reward or possibly even on cash shop. So don't be surprised if any of these may potentially not be exactly on the trading post or may eventually appear on trading posts at some point in the future, but might have a couple other ways for you to be able to purchase them ahead of time. One of those is going to be a whole set of Banshee's gear, which has this very Sylvanas undead look to it. Definitely very unique with the helms, with the cloaks, with the leg pieces, all of those. A little bit of mix of this like veil as well as armor with shoulders that have additional effects. And that's going to be overall a decent bit of the theming for some of the trading post items we'll be able to get in level 1-7. With it also we'll get a variety of different mounts, which are also Banshee undead themed. There's a variety of different recolors for these mounts. You have the blue, as well as you have the green variation. There's a purple variation. There goes the green one. It's almost like, and there's supposed to be like a light yellow one. It's almost like a horse, but almost like Slime Kitty style. If you got the Slime Cat mount back from Shadowlands, it almost has like gelatin look to it or a ghostly look. It's really hard to tell, but you can see the actual bones, the armor, as well as some of the different intricate details around it, which really does have a very much a Sylvanas-esque look to it. However, with the different recolors, this is a mount that can match things like a Paladin, for instance, a Rogue, a Death Knight, and in my opinion, definitely one of the cooler horse mounts that I think is definitely worth adding to your collections. Another ensemble of trading post gear will actually be checkerboard items, like checkerboard style as well as chest style armor pieces in 4 different colors. So think of places like Karazhan, the chess event. Essentially, this is like the Grandmaster's Royal attire, almost like this whole chess type of a feel and look to it with the big, I believe it's a bishop supposed to be, maybe it's supposed to be the king over the cloak. You have the pawns, you have the bishops on the sides. So definitely a very unique look that will be made available also through the trading post at some point in the future. And with this set of armor, we also have a set of unique mounts associated with the whole checkered set, which are all going to be Grandmaster items, either the prophetic board, which has more of a purple look to it. You have the deep board, which I believe has this bronze look to it with a little bit of turquoise on it. The royal board, which has this like black and white, the classic checkerboard style floor to it, as well as a golden as well as ebony type of decorations to it, as well as a smoky, which has more of this like I don't even know how to describe it, a little bit more turquoise and a little bit more pale look to it. But also 4 more mounts that you'll be able to get likely from trading posts, unless like the horses as well as the Banshee items, they might appear on like a store or potentially as a reward from an in-game event, maybe even as a Twitch drop potentially in the future, but likely to appear in trading posts at some point in the future. For now though, this would be the entire list of all the confirmed mounts coming out in the patch 11.17. However, there's also going to be a random few obscure mounts that will be appearing on trade posts in the future as well, like a variation of the Death's Tusk Fellboar. However, it's going to be an unarmored version of the Deathboar. Outside of this, we also know that a new meta mount is going to be arriving at some point in the future. It's going to be part of the expansion features, very similar to the Completionist mount for Shadowlands with Zova's Soul Eater, Completionist mount for BFA with Johnny's Trash Pile, Tyvan for the Dragonflight Completionist. There's also going to be another achievement for Completionist players for the Legion expansion. And this achievement was actually someone that we could preview for a short bit of time on the PTR until Blizzard removed it. Now, we do know that a mount was initially linked to this achievement. What this mount look like, we can't really say. We can't even data mine it for the time being. Plus, we can't even find the achievement to reference it anymore, but it's going to be very, very similar to some of the older completionist achievements, which will have you complete every single raid of Legion, maybe do all of the open world content of Legion, possibly even complete every single Order Hall campaign for every class in Legion. They're usually pretty extensive and they have you do just about everything that expansion has to offer. So any of you that played in Legion or haven't, this would be a good idea to start maybe prepping for it ahead of time, at least running through all of the mythic versions of dungeons as well as raids of Legion, in order to get a couple of those achievements under your belt as early as possible, as it will likely award yet another achievement for any of you that are big completionist players out there. And in most cases, those mounts usually are some of the coolest ones out there and some of the ones most sought after. So definitely prepare for even more mounts to be announced once patch 11.17 officially goes live. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, join our Discord community if you want to keep up with any future updates regarding patch 11.17. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in our next one.